welcome to another edition of Trader Talk TV. Today we've got Rob from Crimtan. Rob, thanks for coming to the office today.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about the evolution of the media plan. A lot has happened in the last couple of years with RTB and automated buying, and a lot's changed in sort of on the media schedules, and Rob's here today to talk about the value of specialists on the plan these days. So before we jump into it, Rob, just give us an overview of Crimtan and exactly what you do there as well.
Exactly, yeah. So Crimtan are a real-time behavioural targeting company. So behavioural targeting company, audience targeting company, we really believe in using data to help our clients and help our partners really sort of progress and do better work. Real-time, because I guess everyone's scared of the network word these days. And I know you love to call everyone a network.
Everybody is a network.
Everybody is a network. But I think it's important to say that we're really trying to push the boundaries here and be a tech company that's moving into that next space.
Okay. So Rob is a veteran of the agency world, and he's seen fads come and go and revolutions come and go. So he's a good view of how the media plan used to look and how it's now looking and should look. So let's sort of talk about that, Rob, if we could.
Sure. I mean, I think that before the RTB, the RTB revolution, most DR media plans were a collection of blind networks that would appear on a plan, and also portals. And what would happen is the planner buyers would add on new networks as test partners, and take off old ones as they weren't performing. Also, if you wanted to add on a new partner, buying a pair of trainers or perhaps a ski trip can be very, very powerful to help us kind of do that. But that's probably for a different conversation. But really, what was happening was that all of these guys were operating kind of across the funnel. So if we have a very badly drawn funnel, I'd never make it as a teacher, where you have a point of purchase here, and you have a point of site visitation here. Obviously, as you go down the funnel, the conversion rate is going to increase. So what was happening was a lot of the blind networks were all really kind of focusing on this space here. So not only in retargeting, but also on the lower kind of tiers of retargeting.
So by working on money was concentrated effectively.
Yeah, all concentrated down here. Now, obviously down here you're going to get a very nice CPA because these guys are about to buy anyway, and so it's going to look great. But is it really marketing if all we're doing is running ads to people who are about to buy anyway? And I think that when ad exchanges came into place, people started to realise that what they were doing was having 10 companies all operating in this space, and no one really operating on the sort of the higher value areas, which really is what marketing is all about. How do we try and get users to engage with the brand and actually try and buy more products from that DR point of view?
So effectively, most companies are concentrating in the retargeting space, but prospecting wasn't really being covered at all.
Yeah, very, very little prospecting happening. I mean, prospecting was only really there to sort of pad out the numbers a bit once all the retargeting had been done. But when RTB came along, people realised that there were many companies all bidding in this space here, and they realised that because of RTB, this was going to inflate the bids because you've got 10 companies all using the client's own data to push up on that. So quite rightly, what happened was, or what has happened, is that companies here have kind of consolidated this retargeting space, and that budget now often goes through a specialist retargeter, or perhaps through a trading desk. And that's great, and I think all can agree that that's best practice. I still think there needs to be focus on making sure this area is done in the best possible way, and I've seen Dr. Boris had a few great ideas on that. Not for here though. What we want to talk about here is how you then really kind of leverage the higher value places of the plan. Really, for me, display marketing is to get an awful lot better at how we can try and drive users who are in market for a given product. How do we know that someone is going to be in market that hasn't actually engaged with your site yet? And that's really the challenge that we're trying to solve here at Crimtan, and I think that when we're doing the modern media plan has to really kind of leverage that a lot more. So what you've kind of got up here really is a few different kind of tactics. One is kind of traditional audience targeting. We also have kind of lookalikes. Again, can't draw, so let's ignore that. But then in the middle we have kind of targeted profiles. So that's where we know an awful lot about what the target audience really is. More than just what sort of audience segments they're in, but things about age and demographic and things like that. So we can use marketing best practice to understand that these users are going to be in market for a product. But I think the challenge that then marketers have is how do we know that what someone says is a travel or a flights audience or an automotive audience, how do we know that's going to have a real impact? And I think the way to do that is to first of all understand how these things are put together, but also understand how they change in conversion rate. If we have a client where from across the whole population the conversion rate is only 0.001, if we then try and talk about target segments where we know that the conversion rate here is 0.01, it's kind of validating that these users are much more likely than the average to be purchasing, and therefore these users are, generally speaking, very good at finding users who are in market for that given product. And I think when companies talk about trying to do audience targeting, if they're not telling you these numbers about explaining to you how it's increasing the likelihood of converting, there's something going wrong. So what happens then is that we have the retargeting element, and then we look, different clients will look to do different audiences targeting, different lookalike targeting, and different targeted profiles to really kind of boost what's happening on the plan. Also, once someone's purchased, we need to make sure that that's taken into account. So if someone has bought a flight, we don't want to keep selling them flights. Here's the typical example of people having pairs of trainers following them across the web.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that what we're doing then is giving them either stop marketing them or upselling. So if they've bought a flight, let's make sure that we're selling them things like hotels or car insurance.
Or travel insurance.
Yeah, exactly that. So then, how does that make the modern media plan work? So if we have a look at the modern media plan, or the modern media schedule, because I know you hate the word media plan these days, Kieran.
Schedule's good.
So we're going to have our retargeting segments. People are going to do retargeting first because it's the low-hanging fruit, and it's what's going to make the media plan look great in terms of CPA and conversion rate. So you're going to have things in here where you're going to have as your tactics on the schedule. You're going to have the inventory source. So let's say it's Google. You're going to have the fact that it's retargeting, and you're going to have some other information about what actually has happened in targeting perspective. So it could be, let's say, frequency 3. That's going to be an idea of an additional tactic you're going to have. You might want to go a bit deeper, so you want to go Rubicon. It's also retargeting, but let's say it's lower funnel. So we're really focusing right here now, and it's frequency 10. So you're going to have a collection of these tactics that are going to be run for your retargeting area. But once retargeting is done, you're then going to want to look at your tactics that are going to work for upper funnel. So that's going to be things like, again, let's say we're going to run this on PubMatic. So it's going to be Crimtan travel, let's say. Let's look at that. And let's say that's frequency 4.
Yeah.
We're then going to have, OpenX. Let's say Blue Sky travel. Frequency 6. And we're going to have a whole selection of these. And then right at the bottom, we're then going to have your post-purchase upsell messages. And again, we're going to know more information about which exchange it is, and what other targeting is going to happen, and what the creative is going to be.
So, I take it these lines are obviously going to be individual vendors executing on your behalf. So, like that could be the trading desk, that could be Criteo, that could be you guys, that could be MediaIQ or whoever else, a specialist on the plan, effectively.
Exactly that. You could have one system doing everything, but I think we're in a world where it's changing very, very quickly.
Yeah.
New exchanges are coming along. We've got to handle the fact that it's mobile, it's desktop, and it's
Yeah,
tablet.
absolutely. Yeah.
There's no one platform, I believe, today that can do all of this.
So you don't think that in your mind that at the agency level it will not be all automated or programmatic? There will be a certain amount of sort of manual scheduling needed to be done and managed buys effectively as well.
Absolutely, because if you just let this go through a programmatic system where you say, right, let's let the machine do what it does, it will do exactly the same thing as what the old school networks did. And it will push all of the spend down here.
Right.
Because it knows the conversion rate is much better here than it is up here.
Okay.
So if you just rely on programmatic, you're going to end up with the same problem here. You have to kind of tell the machine there's a marketing reason to drive new users beyond just the conversion rate.
Do you think that that this new plan would mean that there'll be more money kind of concentrated around the prospecting aspect of this as well? Where in the past it used to be all kind of centered here in the retargeting space on the lower funnel. Do you think that now that when they look at this, that there will be more money situated up here to push users down, because the realization is that effectively you're just remarketing to your own customers anyway?
Yes, I mean, I really believe that the people who really get more advanced will push more money in here. They also may push more money up to the very top of the funnel, into brand.
Yeah.
But yes, more money away from just this space here, which will drive value for those people who can actually, doing retargeting is easy.
It's very easy.
Finding users who are in market for these things here, or doing brand properly, is a much greater challenge. And that's really where the investment in terms of what we're doing in terms of data that other companies are doing to drive better results in that space. And I think it also means that when you have planners, they have to think a lot more carefully. They can't just think about what's got the best conversion rate and what's got the best CPA. It's about how we then join, the math men back with the admin. They've got to think about what the conversion rate is up here, but how that relates to a marketing challenge, and then also then get the creative right.
And do you think there's different metrics up here than here, obviously, or I mean, just to give people a flavour. I mean, what kind of softer brand metrics down here, or?
I think there'll be some hard metrics, but the hard metrics are hard to understand, right? So there are attribution companies coming through trying to make more sense of this.
Yeah.
But as Dr. Burrow said, it's very hard to work out because CPA is going to be lower down here. So I think that they're going to have to be different models. Like simple ways of doing it could be if you do looking at assists rather than just sales. So provided these guys are actually adding users to the site, they're going to convert. That's a great job. But also, softer models too could be very important, and how we plan against sort of traditional rating systems as well could be a very big part of that.
It's interesting though. So this space here, it feels to me, will consolidate. I feel to me the trading desk is low hanging fruit, easy for them, and they'll try and compete with the specialist retargeters like Criteo and Struck, and there'll be a fight over this budget going forward. So is this the big layer here that we'll see more growth from a third party managed by? So obviously I made a bold prediction that would disappear, but I never said that. I didn't mention prospecting when I was talking about. I was more or less talking about the retargeting channel. But is this the big growth area for third parties, effectively showing value here, basically?
Yes, I think so, because when we're looking at ad tech progressing, there's not a lot more to be done in this space.
No.
You can improve it a little bit, but it's really there. But I think that the third party data space is still a growing area that's not been widely utilised. And companies like Crimtan are trying to add their own data and optimization tactics to make this area work.
Yeah.
So I think companies that will push here will be the ones that are going to progress and be kind of the next stage. Equally important though is going to be sort of a level of transparency in this. Because if you're saying to a client or an agency that we're going to really push audience profiles in here and we're really going to push lookalikes, if you're not going to rely on old school CPAs, you have to really show why it is that you're adding value. It could be that you're showing the increase in conversion rates across the whole user pools.
Yeah.
It could be old school marketing metrics, or it could be some other way that works for all parties. But it can't be a black box approach where you're just saying, trust me, I'm doing a good job for you here.
Then you put pixel on your conversion page and let you kind of walk the numbers a little bit.
Right.
Interesting. So this is effectively, I mean, down here as well. This is just the upsell part. I mean, is that anything that these guys can do as well, or is it?
I think so again, because the upsell part again it requires two things. Well, it requires the knowledge of this is happening. It requires a marketing idea to know what the correct response is.
Yeah.
And a technology to deliver that. So again, I think companies that can really kind of push in here, it can be upsell. It also can get to more of a CRM conversation.
Yeah.
So once you bought something,
Customer care, effectively. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's a really kind of an open area because with all the DMPs coming out now, the level of data you've got in those existing customers is really kind of growing. And that DMP space, allied to good creative messaging and good creative optimization and good marketing practice, will actually really help grow this space down here as well.
All right, fascinating stuff, Rob, and food for thought as we move more into the programmatic space. So, Rob, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
And that was Trader Talk TV, and we'll talk to you next week.